Hello once again, YouTube. Today I'm going to be presenting you guys a video about the differences between the loot, the experience, and the fame gained and stuff like that through corrupted dungeons versus tier 5 yellow solo dungeons. These will be the low tier corrupted dungeons just to kind of give you, the newer players, because the Albion player base has grown a lot recently, a little bit of insight as to what to expect, the experience, stuff like that when it comes to low tier corrupted dungeons that you find in yellow zones where the PvP is knockout specifically. So I'm going to give you guys some information as to how long it took me. I'll show you guys both the loot tabs, the silver, the fame, all that kind of good stuff, so you can decide what you prefer to do with your spare time in Albion when you're doing yellow zone shenanigans. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start getting into some of that information so you guys can make your own opinions on this. So if you guys aren't familiar with my style of gameplay when it comes to Albion Online, I typically play this game as an Iron Man, quote unquote. Basically, that just means that I don't trade with other players intentionally. I steal their stuff when I kill them, but I don't also use the auction house. I don't use other people's building stations. I do everything by hand. So I wanted to do this little grind because I just wanted to do something that was casual, something to chill, and I wanted to see how the fame and the silver and the loot stacked up as to a few years ago when I made a loot from 100 yellow zone video. And I have to admit, I originally intended on doing 100 tier 5 yellow zone dungeons for this video as well and doing a comparison in my old video, but it was a very long process, and roughly as far as the speed is concerned, with the Spirit Hunter setup that I was running, because I was running a 4.3 Spirit Hunter, I could easily be doing 10, 12 dungeons per hour, assuming I found them quickly enough. And the truth of the matter was, it got really frustrating doing these because it got to the point where I was spending sometimes longer looking for a dungeon than actually clearing them. It was a little frustrating, I have to admit, which is one of the reasons why I stopped at 50. And then it kind of dawned on me that maybe I should do a corrupted dungeon 100 video. I didn't want to do 100 of those either, but I decided that once I got to around 30 or 40, I wanted to do a comparison of the loot tabs that I got from Yellow Zone for dungeons versus corrupted dungeons. And so I saved the loot tabs for both of them through this whole experience. And I'm going to show you guys the loot tab. I'll talk about the fame and stuff like that here shortly, but I'm going to go ahead and just get to it because ultimately I don't like when YouTubers have like a 20-minute video to answer a 5-second question. So I'm going to show you guys the loot tabs between the two sets of 50 dungeons in each. And I'm going to talk about some of the mechanics while I scroll through this. So some of the mechanics that I wanted to mention is the reason why Corrupted Dungeons was going to look pretty good was because you can just chain dungeons, you can just go straight into another one, which I was really excited for because I feel like it would increase my efficiency. And I have to admit it did. It made it feel faster. Although getting invaded or invading other players was done for fun, which did slow me down, but that's okay. So ultimately, as far as the mechanics go for this, it was fine. I ended up making 111,000 silver from drops from monsters, which I should have gotten way more than that from just picking up the mobs from the corrupted dungeon creeps, but I didn't pick up most of the silver. And the loot looked pretty decent. I cannot complain, although it did take me a little while to do this, probably closer to 5 hours. So realistically, 3 million silver for 5 hours of gameplay is definitely pretty slow, although I did end up getting roughly 1.7 million total auto respecs from this whole process. 700k of that came from dungeons and 1 million of that came from the corrupted dungeons. And just as a side note, whenever I say I got like 1 million auto respec fame, my auto respec is roughly about 30%. So I ended up roughly getting around 3 million silver from, or 3 million fame rather, for doing these dungeons in corrupted, and I got roughly about like probably 2.5 million-ish or 2 million-ish in that range from doing the regular dungeons in the open world. So as far as the comparison goes, I definitely got more loot from my corrupted dungeons, which isn't very surprising, although it did take a lot longer probably to do those regular dungeons as well. So the regular dungeons were slower, provided less loot. This is the corrupted dungeons slow scroll loot tab you can see right now that I'm about to start doing. And the most notable items, I got the cultist robe. I'm definitely going to want that at some point, but overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I made like about 1 million silver in bags, I think. A little bit over 1 million silver in bags from both of these loots. And this other tab where it says bank at the top, this is actually the regular dungeons tab. And I'll have a slow scroll of that as well. And you'll see like the typical stuff here and see the numbers on different things that we get. So as an Iron Man, this definitely benefited my account a lot. For mains, doing this for 5 hours to get roughly 2.5 million silver, probably not worth your time. But this is what yellow zone dungeons typically look like. one other big thing to note is that while I was doing these yellow zone solo dungeons, this 50 tier 5 yellow zone solo dungeons, I was faction flagged and 3 zones away from town at least, meaning that I was getting 15% extra fame and 15% extra loot, and I had premium for both of these. So make sure that you take that into consideration if you are looking to do this as well for yourself, to kind of give yourself a better comparison. Another big note, I did this on a Friday and a Saturday. I did Friday, I did the solo dungeons. On Saturday, I did the corrupted dungeons. Keep in mind that because I was doing these on peak days, the loot was probably going to be better, as that's the way the black market works, I'm pretty sure. So keep this in mind. If you do this in the middle of the night on a Tuesday, you're probably not going to see this level of loot. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how this works. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, please. But this is just what I got. Just throwing those notes out there so you guys know, just in case your loot differs wildly from mine. That could be a reason why. One of the first things I'm going to mention is in the background, you're going to be seeing a couple of PvP clips on occasion. This is a bow player hate space. I hate bow players. I love complaining about it. You'll hear me bitch and moan about it all the time on stream. Secondly, the main reason why I'm making this little complaining bit. The way that infamy mechanics work. If you die in a dungeon, you lose 10% of your infamy. The infamy is meant to be kind of like a little loot boost that you get for doing corrupted dungeons, and you get more as you go. One thing to mention though is that if you die, you lose a flat 10%, and you see in the kill here, I ended up getting like roughly 700 infamy for killing this person. When I die, which I died twice, I lost 11,000 plus every single time. So I started this grind with roughly 119, I think, thousand infamy. I ended up leaving it with like around 90 something thousand. I lost so much. I find it so frustrating to lose so much infamy, because even if I won 10 fights in a row, these kills literally don't even add up to that. It's just super frustrating for me because I have high infamy, and I mean, I'm sure that's intentional, whatever. Alright, that's enough complaining. So I took a lot of the materials the loot that I got, I broke it down into resources to use for the Iron Man stuff. Basically, I know it's a waste, but I wasn't going to run to the black market to sell a bunch of tier 4 and tier 5 gear. So a lot of my tier 4 and tier 5 gear I broke down. So you see in the background the about basically what I got from doing that. All these materials here will help me a lot with my crafting goals. I ended up using a good portion of them here recently actually to make some blood letters. So if you're interested in seeing that type of content like my Iron Man videos, I highly recommend checking them out. And I will leave links to the first ever episode in the description, and you guys can expect to see some Iron Man content coming relatively soon. I'm going to go ahead and close out this video here because I already showcased the loot, I already talked about my opinions on it, I already talked about my complaints about it. It was an okay experience. It was very chill, very laid back, not super rewarding, but it's a yellow zone, so you can't really be that surprised. If you guys are interested in seeing a yellows or a red zone, so corrupted dungeons, mid-tier corrupted dungeons, compared against tier 6 red zone dungeons or tier 6 black zone dungeons, leave a like on this video and consider subscribing if you got to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day.